Heart of Florida, John, and Tom stand tall, discussing corruption, answering the call. Osceola's whispers, the truth we unveil. With each podcast episode, we set sail. Unsanctioned voices, we won't be ignored. Digging through lies, we strike a chord. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Politicians trembling, they know we're awake. With facts on our side, we're here to shake. From local elections to making it clear, together we rise, let's spread the fear. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. Shining the light, the darkness won't last. In Osceola's depths, we're breaking the cast. Unsanctioned truth, we're here for the fight. John and Tom shining through the night. With every debate, we're raising the stakes, taking down villains for justice's sake. So tune in each week, don't miss the show. John and Tom will help you know.
Got back from the Capitol. I haven't slept in 27 hours. Democrats fought all night, all day, and into the morning today to try to stop the Republicans from yanking health care away from nearly 14 million people, from making the largest nutrition assistance cuts in American history, all in service to making rich people richer. This fight's not over. We're going to keep going. We're going to make sure that we stop Republicans from hurting millions of people. I'll talk to you again soon.
Welcome to Unsanctioned.
I mean, it's true, we got to save the free state, but I would just say this, like, we literally just went through an election cycle, right? We're 100 days into the presidency, and you talk to a lot of people around the state, and they are so tired of politics. They want people to actually do their jobs. Like the great senator said, pass a budget. What a concept. Drives me a little bit crazy, and I think you hear this all the time too about these career politicians. There's really two types. One, they go around and they're going to tell you all the wonderful things that they're going to do, right? I'm going to do this, and if you vote for me, I'm going to go fight for this. I'm going to fight to double down on the free state, everything that the governor has done. And then they get into office and they go rogue, and they tell you all the reasons why it can't be done, or they find that these special interests over here, maybe I'm going to align myself a little bit more with them than I am the people who actually put me in office. And then there are other career politicians who go out there and they tell you, I'm going to fight, I'm going to do all these things, I'm going to stand with the governor, I'm going to fight and keep the state free, I'm going to go battle the swamp up in Washington. And then when they actually get into a position, they decide, well, actually, I'm going to use it to subsidize myself to run for another office, because it's not about doing the job that you told the people that you would do. And at the end of the day, the people sitting in this room and the people across the state of Florida and beyond want good policies that matter to the people.
All right. Yes, sir.
Well, she ain't wrong, John. I can say that much. And as far as Debbie Wasserman Schultz, wow, I haven't seen her in a long time. She's looking terrible, John. And I don't know if that's from the lack of sleep, like she said, or if that's just since she's been in politics. She's been an elected official since 1992, John, 1992.
Yeah, that was a year a year before I graduated. I mean, that's a long time.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
looked like the entire time she was buried in about 4 feet of dirt. I mean, she looked horrible. You're right. But worse than her appearance is her view on policy. The gall
Yeah.
of a woman to come and say, of a Democrat, to say, I'm here, there, and I'm not gonna let them do anything to you. For 4 years, she was silent as Biden corrupted the presidency, by, we now that we know, right? They're outing all the people that were in charge, the people that were using the auto pen, and we know, but she didn't open her mouth one time to save
Yeah.
anybody, to help anybody, so it's just the epitome of hypocrisy, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Unsanctioned Florida. We have a great show for you tonight. We're going to try to get through it as quickly as possible. There's a lot to cover, a lot of big news. And of course, the fighting amongst Republicans continues. We saw a lot with Casey DeSantis' speech just now. And you're right. She's not wrong. Not only is she wrong, she's right. She makes sense. It's absolutely true. However, it's very easy for her to say that after her husband endorsed Fred Hawkins, for example,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you
Yeah.
can't get any deeper into the swamp, right? Um, he endorsed the Boost, right?
Mhm.
You can't get any deeper into the swamp. And now he's in a fight with the biggest swamp creature right now, Andrade.
Yeah.
And so it's rich for DeSantis, either of the DeSantis, to talk about this. Yeah, they're right with what they're saying, but at the same time, they've been in that swamp. They play with the swamp. He made all kinds of deals with the swamp to run for president. We knew that was going to be bad. And now there's no good guy in Republican politics, much less in Democrat politics, right? There hasn't been a good guy in Democrat politics for years and years and years. The
No.
only good guy in Democrat politics, I think, is that guy. What's his name? Harold Ford. That's on the 5 on Fox. That's the only good Democrat right now. Everybody else is just knee deep in crap.
Yeah. Hot mess.
And the Republicans aren't looking great either. It's
No.
a mess. It's an absolute mess. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to show you why right now in this show. So we're going to do a quick prayer. We're going to get right down to it. I am former school board member John Arguello, and this is my great friend, citizen Tom Lord. And we're going to tell you all about what's going on in Florida this week. So a quick prayer and then get right to the show. Lord, we are super grateful. This is Memorial Day weekend. We are not just grateful to live in the great free state of Florida, but we're also grateful for all the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for this country. That's what this weekend is about. We know a lot of people are going to be enjoying the long weekend, cooking out, enjoying time with their families. But for all those souls, for the 22 souls that I know personally that lost their lives in the war on terror, and for the millions of those that lost their lives serving this country, we thank you and we thank them for their service. And we pray, Lord, that nobody else has to lose their life in the cause of freedom. If only we'll just become awakened to the fact that our liberty comes from you, then we think that things would be much better. And we ask for your help and support in this awakening, on this show, in the little way that we can. In your son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right, let's get to it, Tom. What do you got
into
first?
Welcome to the Sunshine State, John. And wouldn't you know, our good buddy Darren Soto, along with Castor, trying to launch a probe into the Hope Florida charity. Here's that story, John.
Was $10 million in taxpayer money improperly used for political reasons? That's been the question at the center of scrutiny facing the state's Hope Florida program. Political reporter Aaron Parsegian explains why it's now prompting calls for federal investigation.
When the legislature halted its probe into Hope Florida's foundation, some lawmakers asked the feds to pick things up. Now, 2 members of Congress are echoing those calls.
It sure looks fishy.
Democratic Congress members Kathy Castor and Darren Soto signing on to this letter to the Inspector General of the Department of Health and Human Services, urging a federal investigation into $10 million Hope Florida's foundation received as part of a larger state Medicaid settlement. Money then granted out to 2 groups who around the same time donated millions to political efforts championed by the governor.
It is unlawful to divert Medicaid funds away from patients and providers. So I've asked to take a look into if there are any laws that are being violated, to hold folks accountable and to try to recoup the dollars that rightfully should go to patients and providers.
The new D.C. scrutiny comes after a legislative probe in Tallahassee where some lawmakers alleged possible crimes.
A conspiracy to commit money laundering and wire fraud, and that several parties played a role in the misuse of $10 million in Medicaid funds.
First Lady Casey DeSantis, who spearheaded the Hope Florida program to help Floridians get off government assistance, last week said claims of wrongdoing were
Slanderous, false accusations.
political attacks, according to Governor Ron DeSantis, citing this letter from ACA, while noting,
clearly, what they did was appropriate and legally sound, and that's been demonstrated, I think, very clearly.
it will be a wait and see on if the feds will look into this. Meantime, the DeSantises have been continuing to champion the effort they claim has helped tens of thousands of Floridians connect with resources.
All right, John. It's never a good thing when you give the opposition party, ammunition to use against people within your own party. But that is what our legislature did, certain members of the legislature. What do you have to say, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Andrade is the guy that created this mess for DeSantis. He's the one that called for investigations. We saw his picture of his alien-like forehead and head on television. We saw him. That's him.
I was gonna say it looks really weird, doesn't it, John?
He looks absolutely like a freak show. Like he would be in a cage in the 1920s at Barnum Zoo. But he's even worse is his attack on the DeSantis. This is a guy that has no scruples. When we talk about no good guys, this is exactly what we're talking about. He's a hatchet man. He's in bed with Anthony Pedicini. We all know who that guy is by this point, absolutely. Right? So now you have Pedicini, who helped. He's a friend of Castor's twin over there in Tampa, the mayor Castor. And so these are they're not really twins. I'm just kidding. But the fact is, he's in bed with Pedicini. Pedicini's in bed with Democrats. This is all big one convoluted mess, and it's all about maintaining the status quo and the current political establishment. That's what it is. That's what they're fighting over, is power. And Andrade, I would not trust a word that Andrade did. I know that, I'm a big fan of Matt Gaetz, and Andrade is basically a vassal of his. He's one of his little plebes that works the fields in the fiefdom of Matt Gaetz' world. But nonetheless, obviously politics is a contact sport, right? And I mean, I know that firsthand, right? I mean, I took my licks certainly when I ran against the machine. I just never sold my integrity for ambition. I never made that trade. And the DeSantis has made that trade, and almost everybody I know made that trade, with the exception of a few. And that's why this is such an ugly mess. But don't trust Andrade. Don't trust what he says at all. I don't know if Hope Florida did something wrong, or if they're going to get caught doing something wrong. But certainly whatever is happening that they did incorrectly or wrong, if that is the case, that the Republicans knew about it and they were doing it as well.
Yes.
Right? I mean, right now they should be passing a law against dark money involvement in PCs. That's what they should be doing. And if they're not doing that, then you know that they're involved and they're complicit.
Why do you think, John, that Darren Soto has jumped on board to this, and Miss Castor there? Do you think this is about raising their profile, or?
I think that they're like two of these swamp animals that are surviving in very precarious situation. Florida has a million more Republicans today than when they first got into office. These guys they're a dying breed. So they're trying to raise their name ID. They're trying to raise money. They're trying to look like they're of some kind of value to the people, and they're not. And there's a very good chance that if the Republican apparatus, I'm talking about the national Republican apparatus, got involved in the race in CD9, Darren Soto would be gone.
Yeah.
You know, Darren Soto has lost his squeaky clean, type of view. His squeaky clean skin is gone. And now underneath that reptilian is just the reptilian, reality of Darren Soto. And so that reptilian reality is the people are just they're not charmed by it anymore. Right. So he's a mess, and he needs to be taken out, and at some point may happen in some point in the near future. And if we had a great candidate, we could do it with a bad candidate with the help of all the, national apparatus,
right?
Or we can do it with a really great candidate. So either one of those situations, I'm fine with to get rid of Soto, but you have to be very wary of the swamp here in Osceola, because the swamp here is strong. So, and that's not any better. Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's perpetuating the same chaos.
Yeah. Well, the swamp and others within Osceola County love Darren Soto because he brings those big checks home. But anybody who is representing CD9 can bring those big checks home, not just Darren Soto. For years now, John, there's been a number of candidates, a number of Republicans going after Soto's seat. Nobody has won. No one's been able to take him out. Sooner or later, somebody has to. Somebody's going to do it. I hope it's this next cycle. I guess we'll see. But I know at least 3 Republicans are lined up to take him on. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Obviously the 3 that we've seen to this point have not been up to it yet. And something has to change, right? It's not a formula of just money, right? And sometimes it is. In this case, it's not. It's an uphill climb for right now in this election cycle coming up in 2026. So it's not just money. It's not just this. It's not just that. It's a combination. You have to be hitting on all cylinders to win this race without the support of the national apparatus. Now, if you have the giant establishment, Republican establishment, you have Donald Trump coming in here campaigning for somebody and whatever, maybe it takes him over the top, even a bad candidate. But we'll just have to wait and see exactly what happens and how they get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's still early. We haven't really seen a lot from these 3 guys. I think 2 of them haven't even announced or filed officially yet. But
well, I mean, that's a terrible mistake. It's now we're in halfway through 2025, so it's 18 months. Really, this is now the campaign is starting now. It starts next month, June of 2025. If you haven't started your campaign, unless you're like you got a lot of money, and I mean a lot of money, and you're gonna spend more money than anybody ever has before, including Darren Soto, then you're making it very difficult for yourself. Right now is a time to be raising your name ID, your profile, establishing a record. And anybody who's running, I don't think that they have a record that is so compelling that they don't have to be campaigning right now, right? I mean,
right.
So it's you have to, and some of them are compelling. All 3 of them are veterans. All the 3 people that are considering running right now are veterans. All, I don't know that they've all gone to war, but I know that 2 have.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a great opportunity to pick up a seat by some. All 3 of these guys are better than Darren Soto.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? They all 3 have
Absolutely.
honor. All 3 of them have honor. None of them pretend to be something that they're not, as far as I know. Right? Darren Soto does exactly that. He pretends to be something that he's not. So I don't know. We'll see what happens in this race. I'm looking forward to working for whoever wins that primary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, speaking of your friend, Alex Andrade, he's saying that Governor DeSantis threw a weird hissy fit over this Hope Florida investigation. Here he is, John.
Scrutiny over Hope Florida continues this morning as a Florida lawmaker says Governor Ron DeSantis threw a, quote, weird hissy fit over his Florida probe. Governor DeSantis is defending his First Lady, his wife, after State Representative Alex Andrade launched an investigation into a $10 million donation tied to a Medicaid settlement. The governor says there's no basis for the investigation into the Hope Florida Foundation.
That's a manufactured political operation. That's all this is. Somebody with an agenda dropped off documents, and that's all that custodian of records said. There is no basis.
State Representative Andrade says the funds may have been illegally funneled to nonprofits that later donated to a political group linked to the governor.
You know, Andrade shouldn't be saying anything at this point.
Andrade should not be in public. I can't help but be distracted by that profile. I mean, he's got to polish that forehead the way I clean my rifles. This guy is slimy. It's slimy. He's slick. And, you know, he's just doing the bidding of people that are far smarter and more powerful than he is.
You know, when I first saw him,
It's not compelling.
I couldn't believe it. And I honestly thought that he looked like one of the guys from, you ever see that movie Wrong Turn?
No, I haven't.
Somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, all right, we're going to move on.
I'm sure he does.
I'm sure if he looks it up, he will. You Google it and you'll see what I mean. Meanwhile, you know, Casey DeSantis is mired in the Hope Florida scandal. Representative Byron Donalds is out there. He's fighting back against this pride event that's happening in Naples next to a kid's playground, John, if you can believe this. Here he is.
All right, I want to talk about your state, the Sunshine State of Florida. A federal judge ruled in favor of Naples' pride request to host a drag show to be held outside, prompting a closed-door meeting by the city council. The judge ruled the performance is protected under the First Amendment. Now, the AG fighting against it to protect the kids from drag shows and explicitly adult performances. These are like borderline strip shows by men dressed as women. I mean, how is this allowed?
This is just crazy. The park in question, my kids have all played at that park. I know the proximity from the playground to the band shell. It's really about 200 to 300 feet from the playground to the band shell. This is outrageous. This federal judge should be ashamed of himself. Obviously, Attorney General Uthmeyer is going to step in here and try to do all he can to help the city of Naples. And the city of Naples needs to fight back on this. They need to appeal this. Look, the accommodation that was made was they could do it indoors at another location because it's indoors. It is a lewd and lascivious situation. You can't have young kids see this, and that's just the bottom line. So we got to be real. We have to actually stand for what's right. You don't want to expose kids to things like this. If people in the Pride movement want to go have their parades,
Democrats
go do that indoors.
Obviously they
but
do.
You're not going to do it around kids. It's flat out wrong. And I'm telling you, the reason why this one is personal to me. My wife went down and spoke at the Naples City Council meeting when I was in Washington. Our kids have played at that playground. It's Cambria Park. It's a beautiful playground. Kids come from all over Naples, all over Southwest Florida, frankly, to play at that playground. It's one of the best ones in Southwest Florida. You simply cannot have something like this occur.
Right next to it.
I mean, this sounds like a utopia for Democrats. For Darren Soto, this is a utopia right here. Drag queens and kids playing together on a playground. That is the world that Darren Soto wants to bring about. You know what? I like Byron Donalds. I think that Byron Donalds is not afraid to say what he feels or what he believes. And, you know, there's nobody else running on the Republican side yet, right? So there's not even a consideration. I mean, people talk about Casey.
Yeah, nobody has filed yet.
Yeah, and I suspect that I think that there's a lot of people that are trying to run on this alternative Republican ticket, you know, or slate. Like you have Angolia running for CFO against Gruters, who's going to be running, endorsed by DeSantis. And then you have, for governor, you have Byron Donalds. Byron Donalds is playing it very down the middle, right? He's not creating enemies with DeSantis. He's not saying anything bad. He's not beating DeSantis up. Of course, his delegates are, right? Like Andrade, he's beating him up. So, and then you have, you know, I think that somebody like maybe Jay Collins from Tampa is going to probably, you know, could run for governor on the DeSantis side. So this will be very interesting. This is going to be a really ugly primary. I think it's going to be a really ugly primary.
Absolutely, John. And from what I can tell, Casey DeSantis is running.
Yeah.
The way that the governor's been defending her, the things that she's been saying, and the fact that she's trying to take center stage in a lot of instances. Yes, she's running. She might not have filed yet, but I think she's going to. And yes, it's.
I mean, I don't know. You would be defending your wife too the same way, right? I mean, you would defend. Yeah. So I mean, the defense. You would think that it's natural to defend, but and I agree, they're priming a run, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they're priming a run, and so imagine maybe I mean, I don't know. I just find it. I mean, sometimes the simplest answer is the right answer, right? And that would be Casey DeSantis. It's just, the governor's wife after 2 terms of the governor. I mean, although nobody says it, I haven't heard anybody speak about it. That's a little bit too nepotism for me.
I think that's the hard thing right there, John, is thinking that this is going to be a 3rd term of DeSantis. And her,
and maybe that wouldn't be so bad if you think about it, right? A 3rd term, let's say an anti-woke, because we had anti-woke the first 2 terms, right?
Right.
The anti-woke, anti-establishment DeSantis is much better than a lot of other options, right? I mean, if that were the case, if he had stayed anti-establishment, if he were to attack the establishment for the sake of being the establishment right now instead of trying to save his own skin, that would be that would be pretty big. I think that would be very compelling for people,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I hear a lot of people saying that Byron Donalds is like the establishment and so on. And the fact is Byron Donalds, I wouldn't say is the swamp. I think that he's got a lot of swamp around him.
Yes.
But the swamp wants to be with whoever wins, right?
Exactly.
That's what the swamp wants.
Exactly.
And the swamp is going to go to Byron Donalds because he was endorsed by Donald Trump.
Yep.
So now he's a swamp magnet, no matter what he thinks, and he's got no choice because that's the political foundation here.
Yeah, that's what they do. They glom on to whoever they think is going to be the winner, and try to support him any way they can, or her any way.
Just like they were supporting DeSantis when he was ready to run for president, and all the bankrolling him, that was happening, and so they were like, oh man, they're going to take out Trump. Trump is fighting all these legal cases, he's doing this and whatever. If I were Trump, I would never have forgotten that these guys were with DeSantis, whether DeSantis was forcing them or not, that these guys were with DeSantis before they were with him. And they'll never be with Trump because Trump is not for their interests. He's not an establishment interest guy. Absolutely. He allows them to survive because it's a convenience. But, other than that, I mean, nothing is happening like this. So
absolutely. And real quick, want to give a shout out to Bill Nagy. I hope you're doing well, Bill. You're exactly right. These Democrats are sick, and I just hope you're
get
doing
well
okay,
soon,
buddy. John, next up, these pride lights that have been lighting up most of these bridges. Not okay anymore, John. Not okay anymore. And FDOT has taken a stand against this. No more colors except the red, white, and blue.
The Skyway Bridge, while it was shining in rainbow colors in June, or other bridges that were lit up in Ukraine's flag colors. But those days are now gone after a rule change last year. And now that rule has expanded across the state. Fox 13's Evan Moon is live near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. And Evan, FDOT is making these sweeping changes recently. What was their reasoning for this?
Hi, Allie. Well, we did reach out to FDOT today. We didn't really get a response on exactly why they're doing away with all these different colors for different causes along the Skyway Bridge. But we know that this started last year in June when rainbow colors for Pride Week weren't displayed on the bridge. Instead, red, white, and blue for the Freedom Initiative. Now, red, white, and blue will stay until 2026. The Sunshine Skyway Bridge is an iconic part of Tampa Bay with more than 60,000 cars crossing it every single day. And at night, it's known for its colors, all to honor different causes.
Every set of colors that could be used to signal to other Floridians, hey, we see you, you belong here
pause it.
In this time. If that is breast cancer.
Pause it. Listen, this is what Americans hate everything that this guy is saying. This guy has not caught on. I feel bad for him because, it's like wearing bell-bottom pants at this point, This has gone out of style. Nobody likes that crap. Nobody wants to hear, oh, we see you, no, we don't want any of that crap. You keep your business to your own, do your own crap, mind your own business, and you're not going to flaunt it in my face. I don't want no flag flying in my face. I don't want none of that crap. Nobody cares what you're doing. This nice guy, do whatever you want on your own time in the privacy of your own home, but we're not going to paint the whole city gay because you're gay, right? We're not going to paint the whole city red because you like red, or purple because you like purple. Those days are over. And this guy needs to get up, take a time machine to the present, because these gay days of painting the whole state gay and everything gay, nothing against gay people, but the whole political activism is gone. Yeah. Nobody cares what you're doing. And I'm surprised that they don't realize this yet, because it's just, the truth is nobody cares about what anybody else is doing. What they care about is not being force fed. Okay. Like foie gras. Nobody wants that.
No. Not at all.
Survivor, if that is people that celebrate Juneteenth and the emancipation of Black people, if that is people that celebrate Pride, whatever that might be.
Last year, Pride colors weren't on display in June. The Florida Department of Transportation mandated all state-owned bridges display red, white, and blue lights from Memorial Day through Labor Day as part of a Freedom Summer initiative. Now, it'll stay that way. FDOT Secretary Jared Perdue posting yesterday, FDOT is proud to showcase patriotic colors on our state bridges and highways beginning this Friday through 2026. And the new policy allows only federal holidays to be celebrated on any state bridge. Manatee County Commissioner Mike Rand supports the move.
I think the FDOT has made the right decision. The requests that were coming in were coming in that were just, some of them were just really ridiculous. That they wanted the bridge lit for. And I just took a stand and say, look, the bridge should be lit for national holidays, and that's it.
But St. Pete Pride organizers are upset.
How is it welcoming more people to this great state? How is it making sure that the people of this great state feel seen and heard and supported by its government?
Just weeks from Pride Week, he says it sends the wrong message.
Having colors
red, white, and blue sends the wrong message.
The skyway as red, white, and blue is of resilience, and being able to highlight communities that are facing tough times is a moment to say, like, hey, wow, what better place to signal you can come back better. You are welcome here.
Oh my God.
Now, again, this mandate by FDOT is only for state-owned bridges, so not all the ones that you might see in your city. And as for the Skyway Bridge behind me, again, it will just be red, white, and blue until 2026. Back to you guys.
So if they have a bridge in St. Cloud, I'm sure they're going to paint it with the Pride lights, Tom. All right, that one they're going to paint with Pride lights. So
it's just amazing to me. This guy is talking about that he feels unseen, and that this community feels unseen. They're going through tough times. They're going through all these tough times. They're unseen. We never see them, not in commercials. We never see gay people in Hollywood. We never see gay people out in the streets. We never see, we never see them anywhere. They're unseen, and they're facing
you go to
tough
Disney,
times.
You go to Disney World now, and you don't see a guy with a beard and a dress on, anymore. Yeah, that's what you see now. That's all you see now.
Yeah, exactly. The argument that this guy makes is invalid, because everywhere you look, whether it be your local department store like Target, and we were talking about that last year when they had all these kids trans clothing and stuff like that. No, we don't see you anywhere. Come on.
Yeah.
Get over yourself. Just ridiculous. But love it. Red, white, and blue. What could be more inviting than that?
Yep. What else would you need?
Yeah.
What else would you need? Here, I'll make the argument that the days that it's not red, white, and blue, it should just be red and white for Florida's colors. That's it,
Yeah. Yeah. So this guy's argument is just bogus. Anyway, all right. So moving on, John. This one's real funny. Guess who is eyeing a Florida Senate run?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Alexander Vindman.
Exclusive
Our
interview
very
with
own
CBS News
modern-day
Miami.
Benedict
Retired
Arnold without
Lieutenant
any of the
Colonel
brilliance.
Alexander Vindman said he is considering a run next year for the United States Senate against President Senator Ashley Moody. Now, Vindman was the whistleblower, you recall, who reported the 2019 phone conversation between President Trump and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky, in which Trump asked Zelensky to investigate the Biden family as a favor to him, while also threatening to withhold military aid.
Vindman's actions led to Trump's first impeachment by the House. Now, living in South Florida, Vindman told CBS News Miami's Jim DeFede he's exploring a possible Senate run.
You know, the thing about Florida is it's an extremely tough environment. If you look at the map.
Is that something that bothers you? I don't get the impression that you're someone who shies away from running in a tough environment.
I don't shy away from a challenge, so it wouldn't be that. But I also, would need to understand that don't want to be some sort of sacrificial player. I'd want to do something that actually is meaningful because the costs are pretty high. Costs meaning being away from my daughter, being able to provide for my family. So I'd want to do something that I think could achieve some results.
Have you had any discussions with anyone about the possibility of running?
It seems very, very
this might be the only guy who has less honor than Hunter
Biden. You could see the smile come across my face because it seems so fanciful at this point in time to discuss it.
But I don't hear a no from you.
Because I don't want to be disingenuous. I mean, I think I pride myself on being sincere and honest, and I want to be very, very thoughtful about where I could make the most impact. I think that the Democrats need to win in some very, very difficult places in order to wrestle control back. I'm not sure if Florida is the place to do that. It might be. I think my worldview is that Trump is going to hurt a lot of people, and this will be a referendum, and there'll be an opportunity for people power to manifest. Folks will show up that stayed on the sidelines last time, or that had some.
Enough of this guy. We get it. He's going to run for Senate. He's going to lose his ass in that seat. There's no way that you're going to win a Senate seat as a Democrat in Florida.
I just don't know if I'm the right person to do that.
That's gone by the wayside. Let's move on to the next story. Anything besides this guy. I'd rather see that Debbie Wasserman Schultz video again.
He says that the Democrat Party is still alive in Florida. He thinks he's
a moron.
That just shows you how out of touch Alexander Vindman truly is, that he thinks he can win in Florida as a Democrat.
That's nuts.
He could win in Florida as a Republican.
That would be laughable. I don't know. The swamp, as long as the swamp, he would bring money to the swamp, then maybe they would have him. But other than that.
He couldn't win in Florida for any reason whatsoever under any party label. I don't think anybody wants this guy. So
yeah, there's nobody that wants this guy.
All right,
Russia might want him. Ukraine wants him.
Yeah, Ukraine loves him. They absolutely love him. This guy, though, John, this ex-congressional candidate gets 3 years for threatening to have his opponent killed. And we talked about this story way back when. It was a long time ago when they actually picked this guy up out of Thailand. They brought him back from Thailand, but here he is getting sentenced.
No, from the Philippines.
Yeah, that's right, the Philippines.
A former Florida Republican congressional candidate, William Robert Braddock III, was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison for threatening to have his primary opponent murdered. Braddock pleaded guilty in February to sending a threatening interstate communication and was sentenced in a Tampa federal court. In 2021, Braddock and Anna Paulina Luna were both running in the primary for Florida's 13th congressional district, with Luna ultimately winning the election. Investigators said Braddock spent months harassing Luna and even threatened her life during a phone call with a friend of Luna's. During the call, Braddock claimed he would have Luna killed by a Russian-Ukrainian hit squad if she continued performing well in the race. Politico reported that Braddock described the supposed hit squad as armed for close battle combat and willing to act swiftly. Despite these threats, authorities found no evidence that Braddock had actual ties to organized crime or took any steps to carry out the plot. After the threat surfaced, Braddock fled the country, living briefly in Thailand and then settling in the Philippines. He eventually surrendered to authorities in Manila in 2023 and was extradited to the United States to face trial.
Yeah, well,
What a crazy, crazy story, man.
yeah, and a crazy guy. I
Crazy
mean,
story.
you're going to threaten to kill your opponent, and it's a woman, by the way.
No, I know. And she was pregnant at the time, I thought, or something like that,
Yeah,
right? I mean, I
something
don't
like
know,
that.
but that's just crazy.
Well,
Crazy,
he's
crazy,
getting
crazy.
he's getting 3 years in federal prison. Good for him. That's what he deserves. And yeah, I'm glad they picked him up in Manila.
Here's the thing. I have no issue with this. I think that he deserves 3 years. What about the people who are actually doing? I want to see that damn I'm tired of mentioning it. Let's see that Epstein list and let's put those people in jail for what they've done against children.
No,
Let's do
absolutely.
that. Guys, let's go and I'd be happy to go hunt those guys down from wherever they are in the world and put those guys in jail. That's what we should be doing.
Sometimes I see what's happening with Diddy, and I feel like he's the sacrificial lamb, and that if they get him, that everyone will forget about everyone else. But no, that's not
I
going to
don't
be
think
how
so,
this
man.
works.
I don't think, yeah.
That's not going to be how this
it
works. We want to see
No.
Fauci. We want to see people on the Epstein list. We want
And
to
now
see,
we know that all those pardons are fake, man.
Yeah, we want to see
Oof,
those people
boy,
who are in charge of the auto pen.
Yep.
They need to be taken.
Let's see Schiff go to jail. Let's see what's her face. I've purged her from my memory bank. The ultimate rhino. What's her name?
Oh, God. Now I can see her face though, and I can't.
Yeah, it
You
starts with
brain
an L.
farted me, man.
Yeah, exactly. I'm telling you, we purged her from our memory bank.
Anyway,
Well,
we all know who she is.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So before we go on to Central Florida, John, we have this important message from our friends at magastore47.com.
Can't find what you're looking for? Well, you can find it at magastore47.com. From shirts to hats, lapel pins, and cardboard cutouts, you can find it all right here. Go and visit magastore47.com today.
All right, John. So first up in Central Florida, several school boards are preparing for huge deficits, according to them, and huge losses of students. That includes Volusia and Lake counties, and I'm sure a few others, but here's the story.
Districts are having to make some tough financial decisions. We told you last month, Volusia County School District is facing a $25 million budget deficit and is exploring possible cuts to staffing as well as a way to bring students back to the school to get out of the red. Officials in Lake County are facing an even bigger deficit. Theirs is $35 million. News 6's Jarrell Baker asked county leaders how they plan to balance the budget.
Lake County Schools says that they're going to be around $35 million short due to the financial impact of this school year and next school year. Now, according to this statement from the administration, the district is expected to lose around 1,500 students next year. They say it's partially because of the drop in birth rates in Lake County and the rise in vouchers. Elizabeth Emery with the Lake County Education Association explains.
There is data on how much each school or district is impacted by the vouchers. And I know for Lake County Public Schools, about $50 million was indicated on that DOE report.
It comes at a time where many teachers are pushing for higher pay, including Umatilla Middle School teacher Melinda Tice, who spoke at last week's school board meeting.
I know that in a lot of ways that your hands are really tied, but at what point do I quit a job that I really love to work in a warehouse just so that I can see better raises, and a better work-life balance.
Emery says teachers also need better health care benefits and more manageable workloads.
I want folks like me to stay in our public schools and not go to other fields or, to leave the district. And I also want my future students to be able to have amazing educators. And so we've got to make sure that we're creating the systems to do that.
The district says that funding for each student cost around $8,000, which means that they'll lose $12 million overall next year. They also say they'll lose $8 million in revenue funding, and the state legislature has done little to boost that funding.
Now we're very much in a waiting game because the state has not finalized their budget. And so there are a lot of questions about what will our funding really look like.
Officials say that the extra money going towards their contribution toward their employees' health care plan is also playing a factor in that deficit. Here in Lake County, Jarrell Baker, News 6.
All right. So I'm having a little bit of trouble understanding this, John. Now, they're going to be losing funding because they're losing students. So wouldn't that be a wash because they're getting the funding they need for the students they have? And they're talking about their raises and stuff. And I feel for the teachers. I get it. They deserve more money. Absolutely. But looking at it from the point of view that you're losing students to vouchers and for other reasons, shouldn't you be looking to yourselves and saying, what are we doing wrong that we're losing these students?
Absolutely, that's what they should be doing. I mean, of course you need to be. If you're not doing that by now, I mean, that's a big mistake. That's a lot of mistakes that you're making, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. If you haven't realized by this time that you need to be changing the way that you do things, then it explains, millions of dollars going down the drain. Now, you have to remember, these schools, they build these massive schools, and the cost of those schools to run those schools isn't per head necessarily. If you buy a $10,000 a month home because you have a family of 10, and then you only have a family of 5 that actually moves into that house, it still costs the same, right?
Right.
And that's what's happening. That's one of the things that's happening. The other thing that's happening is that these districts today are trying to keep alive an educational model that is 200 years old or older, and it's not working. We cannot educate kids the way that we are used to doing it in these regular traditional public schools. That might work for some people, but it's not working for everybody, clearly, because our kids don't know how to read. It has to, the education model has to be rewritten for a 2025, not for a 1925. And until that happens, then the money, it will never make sense why we're spending more and more money than anybody else, and we're getting half the results as everybody else. Well, everybody else is doing things differently. Either you drop back to the very basics and you focus on the basics, and then that makes people competitive, because in those basics, you also teach character like they're doing in China. It's a whole different approach to education, right? It's a character building experience in China. So you learn, there's a lot of pressure, whatever. We coddle our kids here and we try to basically throw money at the problem. Well, everybody knows that you can't just throw money at a problem. If you have a parent that they do nothing but throw money at their kids, what does it do?
Yeah.
Right? Does that mean that your kid is going to become a well-adjusted, responsible adult? No. If you just throw money at your kids and don't worry about them, and you don't worry about their development or their character, basically that's what's, they're going to be Democrats. Yeah, that's the likely outcome. I would imagine that's the result.
Yes, absolutely.
So, I mean, you have to rewrite the model of education for 2025 and for 2055 and for 2155. And until that is done, there's always going to be a lapse, and there's always going to be budget problems. There's always going to be teacher pay problems, because that was never their job.
And John, you were a school board member. The money that's coming into that school board, and the slush funds that happen in those school boards. All right, John. So this Brevard teacher has lost her job for calling a student their preferred pronouns. This is the result. It's an FAFO. Where is it? Okay.
Over parental and students' rights makes her first appearance at a school board meeting. Good evening to you. I'm Matt Austin. Ginger is on assignment tonight. Melissa Calhoun called a transgender student by that student's preferred name. That outraged the teen's mom, leading to an investigation. And tonight, the board made the superintendent's recommendation official. Calhoun's contract will not be renewed. As Mike Valenti reports, the decision left many in the crowd angry.
You make it hard to be proud of this district. We mean it when we say Brevard deserves better.
The mission behind you is honestly a joke. There's no excellence being served here.
Melissa Calhoun sitting silently as teachers, parents, and students stood up to speak in her defense.
Melissa Calhoun is one of the most principled, compassionate, and dedicated teachers I know.
She's not being judged for misconduct. She's being judged because the rules are changing around her as you please.
An investigative report obtained first by News 6 last week revealed that Calhoun had been calling the student by their preferred name for years before the rules had changed around her. And that, she told her principal, she had no malicious or political intent.
Ms. Calhoun, I think, has been a person who's been caught in the middle of an ideological battle. She is a woman of faith. She is a person who is a great teacher. And yes, she broke a rule.
Board member John Thomas made a last-ditch effort Tuesday to throw Calhoun a lifeline, to no avail.
I would ask that you guys would consider renewing her. I can't make the motion. I already lost once, but I would just say, you know, we're all people of faith. Dig down in your hearts and really try to do the right thing.
But a district spokesperson says the decision not to renew Calhoun was not disciplinary. It was about the uncertainty surrounding the state's response to the incident. The protest outside the meeting made it clear they were not satisfied with the district's justification.
Melissa Calhoun herself deserves her job back. That student deserves more respect. All the students deserve that great teacher. And also, who's next?
Vice Board Chair Matt Susan walked past
whoever
the
doesn't follow the rules
and past us, despite our attempts to get his attention.
This is, everybody knows my side already.
Okay. Well, I know we were able to review those documents from last week, and it shows that you had contacted the principal about this. So I just wanted to see give us some insight into what we're learning. Do you plan on addressing them inside? Gotcha.
If you guys want to come make controversy out of it, that's great.
We just wanted to get your side.
No, I know what you're doing on the day that they're all hearing it.
The vice chair also declined to speak after the meeting.
Oh, good for him. I mean, this is the thing. They tell these teachers, you know, what the rules are at the beginning of the school year. They know what they can and can't do. This teacher decided to go ahead and keep calling this student by a name and a pronoun that her parent or his parents did not want her to be calling her by. Or her, whatever.
I mean, that's a dangerous situation.
You know,
what if I think your kid is an idiot and I'm like, hey, idiot, get over here. Oh, my mom doesn't like it when you call me that. That's your problem. Hey, idiot. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing. There's no difference. That's the same thing. You are disrespecting the parent in that situation, right? Because the kid doesn't have any control over that. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Why would you, if you loved your career I don't know. I guess that's, you're making that judgment call at the end of the day. And I don't think that you should. I mean, who are you to overrule a parent's decision?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. This is an easy one. No brainer.
Yep. And, it was funny to me. It looked like the liberals did not bus in the protesters. It looked like these were actual students and their parents. Probably this teacher's students and the parents of those students who are just there to support their kids. Very small protest. I get,
I mean, that's not even
their
a protest,
teacher,
even,
but
right? Yeah.
their teacher did wrong, and somebody has to be the example. She's the example. And that's the end of it. You know what I mean? And the guy said, "Who's next?" Well, whoever breaks the rule next, I guess.
Right.
That's who's going to be next. All right, John. So let's take it a little closer to home. Kissimmee. The city of Kissimmee is planning a lane reduction project, which is going to start the summer of next year. Very interesting. This story, John, and but the way that the report is done is not very interesting. Sorry.
Environment. Yeah, multiple roads will have to be reduced in, of course, a reduction in lanes and sidewalks. Of course, they'll be expanded starting summer of next year. This is pretty interesting here.
Our Jordan Meade, she is joining us live in downtown Kissimmee along Broadway. Jordan, that is one of many streets lined with businesses that could be impacted.
Good evening. Now, that construction will not start until summer 2026, so businesses and residents who live in the area will have a while until they're going to see those changes take place. But what will happen is this road behind me, which is Broadway, along with a few others, will actually see lane reductions from 4 lanes to 2 lanes, along with a few other changes. This will entirely change this downtown area that residents and businesses know and love.
Just the 12 hours last day, right? Okay, perfect.
Cafe Barista on Emmett Street draws in people of all walks of life.
We have croissants, homemade croissants. We make it in the other location and bring it here. Everything is fresh.
I would fire that kid 5 seconds after he started
coffees.
Because,
Cesar Baran
dude,
serves
get
at
it
their
out.
downtown
Are you telling me
location,
that you can't
and
sell
he's
a
seen
croissant
Kissimmee's population
without
growth
stumbling over your
impact
words?
their foot traffic.
Growing is gonna be good for
And then you couldn't find somebody that spoke
Baran
English?
says that there are
Really?
not a ton of traffic jams in the area, and he
makes
hopes
no
that that'll
sense.
remain
Find
true
somebody
when a
better than
construction
this,
project starts next year.
So the Connect Kissimmee project is a complete streets
How
project.
bad does everybody else
The county
communicate
commission
in
recently
that
approved the more
restaurant
than
if they're
$16 million
pick that
Connect
kid?
Kissimmee project. It will have 2 phases, including adding a roundabout to Stewart Street and narrowing lanes on Broadway, Emmett, and Main Street.
The mindset behind it is essentially to create a complete streets project, which will accommodate all users. Will create a more
This guy keeps saying that, but he's the worst.
Public Works
He's
Director
all
Ashley
generic,
Willis
all
says that
user.
they've
What is there? There's
already
only. Hold on
evaluated
one
the
second.
impact
Pause this.
construction will have on
This pisses me
businesses.
off. Listen. What users are there? What users are there? There's
The cars.
walkers.
The cars.
There's walkers and there's drivers, and then there's bikes. Okay. Now, I would never ride a bike down this road unless I wanted to commit suicide by car. But that's otherwise you're riding your feet or a car. That's it. And these sidewalks are already wide.
Yeah.
What is this? Why would everything that the county touches turns to something, right?
Yep.
Something that stinks. This makes no sense. The county is run by morons. I just don't get it. This is so dumb. Comment. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, is there anybody in support of this? This is such a waste of our damn money. It pisses me off.
It is. It absolutely is.
He says despite minor disruptions, it should be business as usual for downtown.
We want to make sure that customers
Oh
have
yeah,
access
business
to
as
the
usual.
businesses,
They've learned
and
nothing
we
from
wanna
the
make sure
city
that
of
it's
St.
as
Cloud.
We're gonna
seamless as
close your
possible.
roads. We're
That
gonna close
includes
your
places
roads.
just
Business
like
as usual.
Cafe Barista.
I don't know if when they do the streets, the streets, it's gonna be more busy, but it's good.
Oh my
Public Works Director
God.
Ashley Willis says that once that
Okay,
construction
this
starts
journalist,
next summer,
what's wrong
he
with
imagines
her?
it'll take around
What is
1
wrong
year
with her to
for
put
phase
that
1 to
interview
wrap
up?
and then several
You
more
couldn't get
years
a
for
better
phase 2
interview.
to be
This girl-
finalized and to transform
she's gonna
this
win an Emmy
downtown
for this
space.
too.
Live in Kissimmee, Jordan.
You know, this amazes me that they're going to do this because this is insane to me. They are going to eliminate 2 lanes of street within downtown Kissimmee. So they're going to get rid of 2
Who
of the
the
lanes,
hell is taking
cut it
streets
down
away?
from 4 to 2, and they think that's
How
going
the-
to improve things.
There's traffic on that street too.
Yeah.
You know, there's rush hour traffic on there. So now you're gonna. I mean, it's ridiculous. The Osceola County, they're just. Don Fisher must be so dumb that if he and Erica Booth went on a date, none of them would complete a sentence. Neither one of them would complete a sentence. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I have heard, and I didn't have the full story for this show, but I had read somewhere that they are building a 5-story apartment building in downtown Kissimmee, anchored by a grocery store. So you're going to put this 5-story apartment building down there. Now you're cutting 2 lanes of traffic out of downtown Kissimmee. You're expecting these businesses to survive. Obviously, you haven't learned anything from the city of St. Cloud, even though their project was different. They were laying down those bricks. Many years went by. Many businesses closed. They're still dealing with the repercussions of that brick project, which was totally botched.
They lost tens of millions of dollars in that transaction.
Yeah.
The city lost tens of millions of dollars.
And, granted, the city of Kissimmee did their brick project right, which was on the lakefront. Theirs was perfect. Good job. But whatever they're planning to do, whatever they're planning to do in downtown Kissimmee and eliminate 2 lanes of traffic, that's just idiotic. I can't even imagine what that's going to look like when it's all said and done.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, well, let's take it over to St. Cloud, John, where this rezoning by the county may allow housing development on rural property out.
You mean
on
Pride City?
Yeah, on the east side of St. Cloud. They're getting ready to see some massive development.
The rise in Osceola County, but there's debate on how officials should balance population growth and land conservation.
Our Jordan Meade has more.
I would hate to see a change. We've gotten used to this slow lifestyle, quiet lifestyle, and I'd like to see it stay that way.
Richard Ginsburg and his wife moved to the rural side of St. Cloud a year and a half ago for a change of pace.
The change for us, or for me especially, was the lack of people in the area, which I thought was wonderful.
Farmland as far as the eye can see.
Real quick, John, I just want, obviously this guy is from up north. I can hear it in his voice. And 2, obviously he did not do any research into the area before he moved here a year and a half ago, because if he did, he would know that this was not going to stay rural for very long.
I mean, how do you move to? I mean, what did he know about it? He just was like, okay, here's a farm. I'm going to move there. That's it. I mean that this is if you drive from end to end in Osceola County, you realize what an S show this really is. It only takes if you do it once, you're like, oh wow, something must be crazy must be going on. But if you drive from end to end of Osceola County for 1 week, you realize, oh, this is a disaster. These commissioners are morons. Forget it. I'm out. I'll buy somewhere else. And this guy didn't do that. You failed to do it.
No, you just do a little bit of research and you could see what's happening here in Osceola County, and you would take a different decision.
But on Monday, Richard was one of a few speakers at the Osceola County Development Review Committee meeting, expressing concern about possible rezoning of the land that they now call home.
So right now, this property has a zoning of agricultural conservation. Short name is AC. It also has R2M, which is 2-acre mobile homes.
That rezoning would allow developers to build small homes. Raymond Stengel, the administrator for the committee, says that Florida requires counties and cities to plan for future growth because of updates to the 2008 Comprehensive Plan.
So the legislature has indicated that we can't stop development. We can't say to them, you're not allowed to develop your land, provided they pay their proportionate share of their impact from their traffic to our road network.
That means that.
All right. So real quick, Mr. Stengel, he's right. What he said, he's exactly right. But what he neglects to say is that they don't have to rezone the land. They don't have to.
Developers would have to pay for their impact on the infrastructure along this land near Pine Tree Drive, Tucker Avenue, and more spots in St. Cloud. Stengel says these proposals meet conservation guidelines set by the urban renewal boundary, but many citizens are speaking out, saying these proposals are too much and take away from their communities.
Well, if you go east of us, there are lots of vacant land there, and they're starting to develop some of that up. Continue developing over there. Why go into an existing community and say, oh, these people have too much land, let's take it away from them?
In Osceola County, Jordan Meade.
This guy has no idea. This guy has no idea. They're developing everywhere, bud.
I don't want to beat up on the guy. I really don't.
No,
I feel
they're
bad for him.
developing everywhere.
He obviously is ill-informed, but yes, you can't point to the other end of town and say, oh, build over there. Because they're building over there. They're building everywhere. Everywhere.
There's not a spot They're not developing, dude. They're building everywhere. Every neighborhood is being destroyed. Every street is being ignored. Every fire station is overworked. This county is a disaster, and it's a disaster by design. You designed it when you voted for these idiots to be county commissioners, and now you have a horrendous county where nothing is working right. And every time they put their finger on anything, anytime Don Fisher has an idea, it turns the poop.
Absolutely. And John, all it would have taken to figure this out is just a little bit of time on Google, just that's all you needed. That's all you needed to know, that you could see that everywhere around Osceola County, especially St. Cloud, is being developed. And you're not going to stop it at this point.
It's not going to stop.
They probably had the chance a few years back stop to some of the.
You could at any point in time, you take a majority of the county commission, right, and then you get those guys to stop turning over the zoning. Although now you're getting all these other. We're going to talk about it, right? You're getting all these other places, so you just have to slow it down. And what you got to do is reprioritize the infrastructure and the services so that it matches the development that's going on. Make sure that you're not destroying a neighborhood when you're building a new one, because everybody's going to lose their home values. You can do development where everybody's home values increase, right? And it doesn't have to be like sacrificing sacrificing your own in order to gain somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, John, let's move over to the other side of St. Cloud, the west side of St. Cloud. This story here, this is the final nail in the coffin for the west side of St. Cloud, unfortunately. And this is the construction which will start on the Cross Prairie City Center in 2026. And this is unbelievable once we start really getting into this, John. 95 acres on this heritage site. This is what they're calling it now. They're calling it heritage. And here it is. That's the artist rendering of this thing. And, all the residential lots in Cross Prairie spoken for now. BTI Partners just weeks away from closing on the most substantial deal in the 1,400-acre master plan community. WMG Development is under contract for the 95-acre urban center at the new Florida's Turnpike interchange. So this is going to go right in the middle of the new Turnpike interchange. This is the interchange that's going to replace Clay Whaley. So if you live in 34772 or 34769 and you use that Clay Whaley Turnpike entrance, and I know there's thousands of people that use that Turnpike entrance, they're going to close
hundreds
that
of
down.
thousands.
Yes, they're going to close that down, and they're going to open up this new one, which is going to be right smack in the middle of all of this. All right.
Man, talk about, look, they're taking away all these people who voted for Ricky Booth because they like Ricky Booth. Look how you're getting screwed over. There's only one reason to vote for Ricky Booth. That's that you have a piece of land, you have a development, that you have something or other, or you're just like some kind of gay guy that likes dumb gay guys. But whatever it is, you are a dumb voter if you voted for this guy or for any of these county commissioners, because look at this.
This is it right here. This is it. The developer, which has offices in Chicago and Winter Garden, has been quietly working with BTI Partners in the city of St. Cloud. Hold on. Let me repeat that one more time. Has been quietly working with BTI Partners in the city of St. Cloud on the revised master plan for the urban center, which they've renamed Heritage. What a joke that is. When completed, it could have up to 1,200 residential units, 600 hotel rooms, 200,000 square feet of medical and institutional uses, and 2.7 million square feet of commercial and office space. Originally this was going to be just a grocery store anchored retail plaza, but once they understood the scope of the project and saw the demand from the home builders, they expanded it into a full urban center. Now, this map here, John, you see the yellow and the red. The yellow is this master planned community. the red is this city center that they're talking about. You look at the size of the yellow in this map, and the gray on the other side of it is the actual city of St. Cloud. That's the city boundaries. You could fit this inside the current city of St. Cloud city boundaries, and it would take up the majority of it. This thing, and I've talked about this before, this thing is more than half the size of the current city of St. Cloud, and this will be annexed into the city of St. Cloud. And I know that the city council is licking their chops. The city of St. Cloud is licking their chops at all the ad valorem tax dollars they're going to take in from this thing. This guy's saying it's the largest project that they have ever done as an organization. The city council approved this preliminary subdivision plan amendment and development agreement back in April. So this is not something that was from the previous city council. This is the current city council. Prepared by GAI Consultants, the plan calls for the center to be developed in phases with a grocery.
I thought the mayor was against development.
Well, yeah, he was all about commercial, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. We'll talk about the kind of commercial that's going to go in here. And, they're talking about 2 big box stores in the first phase, dozens of shops, restaurants, and medical offices. The first phase will take about 5 to 7 years to complete. Also, we'll have 2 hotels and 2 suburban-style apartment complexes. They're saying this is what the market calls for. This is what they want today.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Who are they asking? The guys who are getting rich doing this project. That's who they're asking.
Exactly.
This is a joke. Imagine the traffic. Imagine the traffic.
Wait till we get to the end here. The retailers they're talking to, all right, are brands that this company has partnered with before, and they include Publix, Miller's Ale House, Chipotle, Starbucks, KFC, Wild Fork, Blaze Pizza, Panda Express, Raising Cane's, and White Castle. So basically, you have a couple of new fast food players that they're looking at, and a couple of existing concepts that we all are very familiar with because they're everywhere around Osceola County.
Yeah.
But we don't need any more.
I mean, these are not great brands. This is not like some kind of upscale. This is fast food crap.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is like fast food, fast casual. There's nothing great going on here. This is nothing. There's nothing. I mean, man, it's just this sucks, dude.
This sucks. Yeah, absolutely. Between Cross Prairie and Edgewater West, which is the majority of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
BTI Partners controls roughly 2,600 acres in the county's east of Lake Toho mixed-use district. This is, including Tohoqua and all this. This property alone is divided into 11 different neighborhoods and entitled for nearly 9,000 residential units. And they're putting the new Turnpike interchange smack dab in the middle of this.
Yeah.
9,000 residential units. That's
otherwise you'd never be able to sell. You'd never be able to sell a single house because it would take you 45 minutes just to get out onto a road to get you out of Osceola County.
Yeah.
And what jobs are these guys? So imagine all of these people, the only jobs that they're going to be able to go and get are driving out. You got to drive out of Osceola County. It's so dumb. I think this was like that big ranch, right? Yeah. 17,000, I think, homes was the plan for it. Where are there 17,000 jobs here in Osceola County where you can afford to buy one of these homes? Or are all these corporations going to build these neighborhoods where you rent the homes? Because, that's what's going on right now, right?
Basically, so that's it. And you hear about the retailers they're talking to. These are low-income jobs. These are not high-income jobs. This is a nightmare.
The county is building houses for people that can't work here.
That you talk about 2 cars per those units. That's 18,000 new cars on the road just within that area. And then you have the existing traffic. There's no talk of another Turnpike interchange. There's the one that they're talking about that's going to be down by Kenansville. But that's not going to be even thought about for another 10 to 15 years. So
why would they remove the one that's on Whaley to do this one? Why not leave them both?
I don't know. They should have left them both. It would have made sense, but you would still have that traffic backup, even though they're going to add another lane on the turnpike.
I mean, you're getting to Osceola County on the turnpike when you hit the traffic.
Yeah.
Right? Like that tells you you're in the county line. And it's admitted you're driving. I drive every time I'm.
It's true. It's true.
Orange County, you're flying. Boom. Hit traffic. Oh, Osceola County. There's the sign.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But why they're closing down Clay Whaley, I have no idea. Although I guess they figured that would be a double backup between the interchange that's going to be in Cross Prairie and the one that's going to be at Clay Whaley. So they closed down Clay Whaley.
It's amazing that they're willing to build something and then destroy it and build it somewhere else, only to benefit these developers. That's it. That's who they're not trying to help the people who live here. They're just trying to help the developers sell houses.
Yeah. And that's how they're going to market this. They're going to market it.
All those
you're going to have the turnpike interchange right there, right next to where you live. So you're going to be able to have easy access to the Florida Turnpike.
That's what they did to the people that have the exit on Whaley, to those little neighborhoods in there.
Yeah. And here you go. So if you were thinking about selling, you got 5 to 7 years before things get far worse, and they're going to get far worse, especially if you live in 34772 and parts of 34769. It's over. 34771, you're next, and it's on the way. That was the other story. So,
what was the next? What's the next story?
No, that's it. That's the end. That's all the last story. But I was talking about the previous story that dealt with 34771, and the construction and the development is all out there too, and it's happening quickly. So.
Nuts. It's nuts. It's nuts what they're doing.
No one is stopping it. No one.
And I mean, yeah, absolutely. Nobody's trying to put a stop to it. But I mean, it's just Osceola County is going to be a gigantic mess. It's basically going to be the runoff of Orange County, and you better start looking for a place to live now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So, I thought you were supposed to end the show on a positive note, Tom. You're supposed to have a positive story for the end.
That's on the America show. That's not on the Florida show. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of positive happening in
not
Florida.
in Osceola County. Yeah.
No, definitely not. Even though they try to tell you that there is, and there are, there's a lot of fluff pieces out there. But someone has to be talking about these things that are happening that are negative.
Absolutely.
Because if nobody does, and you just have these rose-colored glasses on all the time.
If you want to see the positive fluff
right
pieces, the fake news, go watch one of the people that have a news outlet here in Osceola County, because they don't tell the truth about anything. Well, listen, we do have one good story here. All the fighting amongst the Republican Party between the FRA and the other groups and the true principled conservatives and the Republican rhinos and all that upheaval might have had a good result, which can actually have a good impact. And we're going to talk about that. By the time the next show comes around, we're going to probably be able to have a full-fledged story on that issue. Weren't we supposed to? Oh, wait, weren't we supposed to? Wasn't he supposed to be on? We didn't arrange it. We missed out on that. Okay, so we got to do. You know what? We got to plan for an interview with our subject at the next FRA. We'll do it off-site. We'll do it then.
Perfect.
Right? That's a good idea, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So listen, we love you. We appreciate you. Please like and share the show. We had a great number of people watching this evening. So please like and share. Let other people hear the news of what's going on. We're going to bring you some awesome news on the next Florida show. Until then, until Unsanctioned America, which will be sometime this week coming up. Thank you. God bless you. Have a great, safe weekend. Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Absolutely.
Remember this weekend is all about celebrating the people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for our nation.
Absolutely.
And
allowed
so
you to have
we
your barbecue
keep them,
and allowed us to
keep
do
them
this
in your
show.
memory. That's right. God bless. Have a great night.
Well, I mean, I was entertained, to be honest.
I think it is rich beyond measure. The fact that a school board member that has tens of millions of dollars of conflict of interest before this board has the courage to come up here and talk about anyone's behavior. If anyone should be ashamed of themselves, sir, it should be you.
And I'm in favor
you being able to speak your mind, no matter what. That's how we get, remember when we were kids, right? And you had a problem with somebody, and then your dad would kick you out to go fight with that kid, and then you shake hands, and then you go home, and then you become friends.
Discussed when they're trying to, take this word and give it meaning that it doesn't have.
Our entire country needs to go through a fasting. You see all of these new age hippies, right? They're all constantly fasting. They're doing starvation diets, or they won't eat for this. Or what is it called? Like some kind of
intermittent fasting. It's not just us, and not just fans of President Trump, MAGA Republicans. We're not the only